Hello and welcome to Encore. Coming up in today's film show, pages of prose and a fascinating friendship in Genius, an insight into animal antics in the secret life of pets, and we take to the waves with the classic Endless Summer.
We can do it.
How long?
9 months. If you resist the temptation to add more.
I have to be able to add more.
Oh, I miss her so much. She's back!
Forgot my phone.
Oh, I miss her so much.
When you go looking for surf, you don't look for a really big wave. If you found one, you'd never ride it in strange waters. It would be much too dangerous.
I am, of course, joined by our film critic, Lisa Nesselson. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Olivia.
Now, we're starting with a film that's definitely of another age, a time when people regularly read 1,000-page novels. Genius is about the working relationship between editor Max Perkins and author Thomas Wolfe. This was a time when red editing pencils and typewriters were cutting-edge technology. Lisa, what did you make of the film?
Well, this summer the likes of Rihanna or Beyonce can fill enormous stadiums, but if you flash back to the 1920s or 30s and imagine that every ticket holder had instead rushed out to buy a novel by Ernest Hemingway or Thomas Wolfe, that will give you an idea of how to be a successful novelist back then was to be a rock star. Editor Max Perkins of the publishing house Scribner's more or less discovered Hemingway and also F. Scott Fitzgerald and the subject of this film, Thomas Wolfe. 20-some publishers had rejected Wolfe's manuscript before Perkins took it on and agreed to publish it. Max Perkins, editor of Genius, is the name of the book that inspired the film Genius, and in A. Scott Berg's volume, that title is a pun. Editor of Genius. Who's the genius? The editor or the writer he's editing? Now, I'm a sucker for movies where actors tackle the creative process while dressed up as real life. Authors, Capote, Trumbo are the sort of movie that I absolutely fall for, as is this. But I think people now who haven't really thought about publishing or where books come from might actually find this movie a little baffling. But if you have an attention span, the acting is wonderful, and I think this film takes a decent stab at showing the behind-the-scenes conflicts that inevitably arise when you have art and commerce sort of doing battle. Let's take a look at Colin Firth as Perkins and Jude Law as Thomas Wolfe.
This book is dedicated to Maxwell Everts Perkins. A brave, an honest man who stuck to the writer of this book through times of bitter hopelessness. The author hopes this book will prove worthy of him.
Now, this is a very American story, but with the exception of Laura Linney, who plays Max Perkins' wife, most of the cast members are Brits or Australians.
Yeah, a colleague of mine said this would lead you to believe that there actually aren't any American actors of a certain age, which is absolute nonsense. It takes a little while to get used to Jude Law and the way he's speaking, but in fact, people who are up on Southern accents say he's absolutely nailed it. And a lot of people under 30 probably don't know what a typewriter is supposed to sound like. I would like to point out that, alas, the last typewriter factory on Earth is going to close next year, and Woody Allen has written every single joke, essay, screenplay on the same manual typewriter since he was a teenager. Also, this movie has a lot to say about titles. Believe it or not, the book we know is The Great Gatsby. They wanted to call Trimalchio in West Egg, and Anhedonia is what we know as Annie Hall, and Oh Lost turned into, thank goodness, Look Homeward Angel by Thomas Wolfe.
Okay. Well, our next release comes from the same studio that brought us Despicable Me and the Minions movies, The Secret Life of Pets. So is this a reveal all about what happens when humans make themselves scarce?
Absolutely. It's practically a documentary, I think, that just happens to be animated. Now, I have never had a pet more evolved than a guppy or a small turtle, but there are two schools of human-pet interaction, and that's either that they love us back absolutely as much as we love them, or they just feign affection because we're where food comes from. The Secret Life of Pets explores both of those avenues, and when it's funny, it's very funny. That said, the Minions short, the new one that precedes the film, is actually funnier than the movie. But let's take a look at some animal buddies in problem-solving mode.
Come on, let's go! Move it or lose it!
Every bird instinct I have says don't follow a dog on wheels.
Mr. Pops, sir, shouldn't we be heading to the sewers?
Now, if we take the human route, getting there's gonna take days. You may have lots of time, but for me, every breath is a cliffhanger. So, we gotta take the secret route.
Okay, the secret route was death. Well, that's that, I guess.
Come on!
This has been a massive hit in English-speaking countries, but do you think the French will be up for it as well?
I suspect they will, and the French voice cast is made up of very beloved entertainers. Now, the French are great animal lovers, although if I were a French poodle, I think I'd try to get a class action suit together about that topiary fur design they sport. I recently saw a chart of pets and how popular they are across Europe, and was astonished to see that France leads the continent in people who have pet lizards. Something our viewers beyond France may not realize is that vacations are sacred, and a lot of people actually abandon their animals for the summer because they can't take them on holiday. That used to be 400,000 pets were abandoned on the roads of France. They've gotten it down to only 100,000. And so there's these heart-tugging commercials and billboards about how it's really not nice to abandon your domestic pet because you're heading off on vacation. This movie shows the way Manhattan might look from an animal's point of view, and has a lot of surreal flourishes, including, believe it or not, a Busby Berkeley number in a sausage factory, which I haven't seen before. It's a lot of fun while you're watching it, but it doesn't really stick with you.
Okay. Well, from pets to people, we're moving now to a seasonal phenomenon, the summer blockbuster, as some big-name action heroes take on bad guys, phantoms, and even extraterrestrial threats. Sanam Chantier takes us through the hot tickets at the multiplex.
It's a season of sequels and reboots, starting with the 5th installment of the hit movie series Bourne. And Matt Damon is back. The actor's revealed that in the latest edition he has only about 25 lines, though he did have to flex other muscles for the film.
A final movie that we've made is really on another level. The action is ratcheted up, everything is a little more intense.
Another cult franchise making a comeback to theaters is Ghostbusters. The 1980s action comedy takes place in a fictional world of spooks and specters, and this time we follow the adventures of an all-female cast.
My name is Erin Gilbert, Doctor of Particle Physics.
This is still that great story of unlikely heroes, and I think you can always get behind that. I think you always root for that. It always works.
The blockbuster cost $144 million to produce. Given its hefty price tag, however, its trailer currently stands as the most hated in YouTube history.
Get out of my friend, Ghost!
Ow, that's gonna leave a mark!
Also making a premiere this summer, Star Trek Beyond, the latest installment in the science fiction series. And iconic characters like Captain Kirk and Spock return to the silver screen.
Well, at least I won't die alone.
Among them, a new recruit, a lizard, played by British actor Idris Elba.
My character's never been seen in a Star Trek movie before, so that was enticing. I enjoyed it.
The scope of action in Star Trek Beyond, the 13th in the sequel, is more in line with the TV series, but the twists of the plot are current. Hikaru Sulu goes where no one has in 50 years of Trek. That's out of the closet. The officer, played by John Cho, is gay.
I think people like Star Trek because it says something that we hope to believe about ourselves, that we would rather have peace than war, and we'd rather focus on our similarities rather than our differences.
Another flick hitting the cinemas this season is the long-awaited Suicide Squad. Starring Margot Robbie and Will Smith, the 130-minute picture revolves around an irreverent band of supervillains sent off on a mission to fight crime in exchange for clemency.
Let's go save the world.
Now, the idea of the blockbuster has even made it here to France. They use the same word in French. Where does it come from?
Les blockbusters. Yeah, that's easy. It's my understanding that it began as a military term, which would describe a large, powerful bomb used especially in air raids on cities. So a bomb used to demolish large areas. Alleged excitement about alleged blockbusters, I think, has demolished large portions of some people's brains. But it came to mean any massively popular book or recording or that makes a lot of money and was designed to do so.
Okay, well, let's look forward to them then this summer. Now, we're moving to happier places. That's the beach. Now, if you can't make it to the real beach, the cinema has come to the rescue with the classic Endless Summer, the 1960s movies being re-released on French screens. Lisa, what did you make of it?
Well, before there was web surfing and couch surfing and ego surfing, there was surfing, and which we associate with muscular young men who are perhaps not pursuing PhDs. But it turns out that someone very smart, none other than Agatha Christie, was one of the very first Britons to learn how to stand up on a surfboard. She practiced surfing in Cape Town and Honolulu after the war, and I think that's kind of interesting. The Endless Summer is delightfully laid back. It's a documentary. It was made an astonishing half a century ago, and it's about two surfers going around the world chasing the perfect wave. And I would say that the poster for this movie is about as iconic as that silhouette of Che Guevara we all know. Reviewing The Endless Summer in the New York Times, one Robert Alden wrote, quote, "The subject matter itself, the challenge and the joy of a sport that is part swimming, part skiing, part skydiving, and part Russian roulette is buoyant fun," end quote.
Agatha Christie, a woman of many talents, who knew? Lisa, thanks so much for joining us this week. We'll leave you with a clip of endless waves and endless beaches. Thanks for being with us. You can get more arts and culture on our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 after this.
What every surfer dreams of finding is a small wave with perfect shape, what we call a perfect wave. The odds against finding that are 10 million to 1. They finally got their first look at Cape St. Francis, South Africa. You can't tell how good a wave is till you actually ride it. On Mike's first ride, the first 5 seconds, he knew he'd finally found that perfect wave.
نقاش فرانس 24 جدل الآن وحديث وتعليق من وفي كل مكان.
France 24, c'est une passerelle entre les cultures, c'est la diversité.
It's also a great way of sharing it and discussing it on social media.
We give a voice to women and girls, whoever they are, wherever they are.
هل تعرفون باريس؟ أحقاً تعرفونها؟ تابعوا France 24 لمعرفة المزيد.
Tout ce que vous avez toujours voulu savoir sur l'Europe, c'est sur notre chaîne.